dun, dun, dun. So you and I were just talking, and I just felt like I should record it for the podcast.
Yeah.
But this is going to be probably like volume 3 of Men versus Women. Because we've done a couple already. But I don't want you to introduce yourself because then your creeper comes back.
Yeah.
So maybe what I'll do is I will link the podcast that you were in last time because your creeper is going to come back, which I don't want that. I wonder if it's the same dude that left a note in the car.
I don't know. Probably.
Weird. Anyways, which is weird because you know who that guy is. But anyways, so we were talking about like the way women approach dating and how men approach dating. And you were talking about how like just what things are like from a women's standpoint. Like I told you, we started this conversation because I told you I'm completely oblivious if chicks ever like me. I don't even know. Like you've said it. You're like, oh, that chick thinks you're cute or whatever. Like that girl likes you. And I'm just like, I guess I'm just going to keep eating. That's me. So, but you were talking about how as a woman, like the moment you see a guy, you already know if you want to hook up with him or not.
Right. Either hook up with them or like date them. So normally we make it up in our mind whether or not it's going to go
All
somewhere.
women do this.
I would speak for the majority. I'm pretty sure it's a good portion of them.
Is there any way for a guy to go from your dating side and sneak in over to the sleeping side?
I would say so. But it always comes back. I feel like the woman really gives the direction whether or not that's going to go that way or not.
Well, yeah, I would hope so, because otherwise things get rapey very quickly, right?
It's kind of weird, though, because how come the guy can't decide whether or not they're going to want to have sex? Because guys always are willing, right?
Exactly.
Always.
Exactly.
It's weird.
Exactly. I was going to say, why is that different? But no, you just got it. This is exactly why. Because as a man... that's why a woman can go to a club and be like, who wants to fuck me? And there'll probably be a couple weirdos who definitely would take you up on that right away.
Be like,
just walk.
I heard you and I'm here.
Yeah. Or there'll be a guy who will wait for people to be like, ha, 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 ha. And then keep an eye on you in the corner and then just be like
giving you them
just
signals.
slowly shuffling his feet over to you. And he's like, hey, he just gets like shoulder to shoulder. And he's like, hey, were you serious when you walked in? Because if you are... I got a car. It's got a lot of van room. It's got a lot of room in the back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's exactly why it is, because there's at any given point there'll be a guy who want to have sex with you. Most guys will just want to have sex with you. It's a dumb monkey DNA bullshit where it's like, oh, we got to breed and instantly like, and it's also the feeling of feeling good, right? But that's, once again, I'm going to classify that under the monkey DNA shit. I'm just going to. It's the breeding thing. So interesting. So you feel like all women, the moment they see a guy, will instantly be like, I would sleep with him or not.
Right. Yeah.
And that's your monkey DNA shit. You know that, right?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the order of the pick, pretty much. Like we automatically can see whether he's a good reproducer or not.
You got good genes, basically.
Good genes. Yeah, good genes. Good DNA.
I agree. But that's got to vary from woman to woman, right? Or is that all? Like, okay, that brings up a good question. So traditionally, I think, especially in our society, there's something that like defines a man as like good breeding, right? Usually good features, good facial structure.
I tell you, strong jaw, wide back, tapered waist, good legs, good arms, like jaw.
Good muscularity.
Yeah.
Nice, I mean, the kind of body fat's in check.
Yeah.
Probably,
and
cleaned
he takes
up.
care of himself.
Takes care of himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some things that were defined as like masculine or attractive, right? So does that mean that's a generality for all women? Probably not, right?
I think, well, there was a study I read on, and this was an actual legit study I read on.
Yeah, Women's Health took a survey of 40 women. No,
but our perception of men changes during our cycles each month. So when we're in ovulation, we are looking for more of the stronger features, like the more chiseled, defined jaw, like the more muscular. But afterwards, after, our menses or whatever, we're looking for more of a softer.
Menses. Continue.
We're looking for more softer features, more like a comforter, not necessarily like a warrior looking dude.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I think it all has to come back to the reproductive system. Like we want like the badass warrior, like biggest like jacked yoked dude to come and stick his seed in us.
So like in the beginning of your ovulation, which is the first beginning of it, right? So like let's say, how do I make this make sense? So let's say you have your period like on the 3rd week of the month.
Okay.
Okay. So does that mean that like the first 2 weeks you're looking for the rock, and then afterwards you'll settle for like, what's the opposite of the rock? who's Jonah Hill?
Buddy?
The last 2 weeks you'll settle for like a chubby Jonah Hill.
Yeah, I would think so.
That guy's gonna watch Game of
Well,
Thrones with you.
no,
and
actually,
hang
no, I
out.
disagree. It depends on the woman's ovulation cycle. So
That varies from the period,
yeah,
right?
it varies for.
The ovulation changes from the period.
It depends. Well, no, because it all has the same times, but every woman is different. Some girls have 28-day cycles, some have 34, so it can change depending on how long that woman's cycle is.
The cycle is the ovulation.
No, the cycle is the whole. So it's like from the period to the end of the period to the beginning of ovulation to the period again. So until into the next month.
Did you have sex ed in school?
Yes.
Junior high?
8th grade, and I think my freshman year too.
Both. I only had it in
Junior high?
junior high. I want to say it's 7th grade.
Did they separate you guys?
Yeah, I feel like if they would have
feel like
taught
they
us both stuff, I would
Yeah.
have not been asking all these dumb questions I ask you.
Well, and here's the thing too. I went to a Christian private school in 8th grade.
Of course you did.
So they separated us. They still taught us sex ed, like, the mechanics of everything.
They're like, in Christianity,
don't
doesn't happen.
Don't hate.
This doesn't happen until you're married. So
That is
don't even
not
worry about it.
true.
We'll teach you that when you're 30. See ya. See you guys next year.
No,
Happy
I
graduation.
will say I think the sex education is like so like nobody will give good education advice. And honestly, to be honest, I don't think even junior higher should be. Well,
I can't say
Never
that because
mind.
kids are fucking so early
Yeah.
nowadays. But my point is more that it's a tough situation to do it in school because especially if it's a Christian school, you're in a weird situation. Like, why are you teaching kids sex ed when you're also teaching them they shouldn't have sex until they're married?
so they give us kind of like they give us the whole basics, and I believe the state requires sex ed to be taught. Now it's whether your parents want to have you in that class, so they give you like permission slips to be exempt
Right.
from that. But obviously my parents didn't care, so I sat in the class and I listened to the whole thing, and the state has
You're the only one.
requirements.
You're the only one in
No,
a room
and
alone.
at the end they teach us the importance of why you should save yourself, for marriage, and they give us the whole, biblical terms of sex ed too, and they pass around. I'm waiting till marriage stickers. So
Aww. So, okay. So, I feel like it is a weird situation is in maybe public schools because you're right. They don't do a good job of teaching
No,
it.
they
It's more of an anatomy class.
Yeah.
It's more like
the man gets erected,
the
and
man gets
splooges.
hard and then
Eventually will splooge.
It's like we had you kids are spoiled now. You guys got projectors and shit. We had those ones where it was that thing in the center where they took a
The
clear
glass
film.
plate with the
Yeah.
light and the reflector onto the
on top, and it goes so like they would reflect a giant dick on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, this is your ball sack, and this is where semen is produced, and we're like, semen.
What's that?
This is semen. But kids nowadays are probably like, man, I watched a Bukkake compilation number 45 last night. I know what's going on.
What's bukkake?
Don't ever Google it.
Oh, okay.
None of y'all watching ever Google that. Ever. Anyways, some of you guys are laughing your ass off now because you dirty bastards. So, long story short, it was really weird just seeing like a weird limp dick outline on the wall.
Yeah.
And just like, as a kid, you're just like, ugh. But I also can understand how it's difficult as a teacher to want to tell the kids more, but it's such a weird
regulated.
grade area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't really say much more or much less than what's required. So that's probably why it's such a shitty education. And you know, kids gonna fuck. And
Well,
now
I feel like because they did separate the men from the women, the men, like, well, the boys, had like a more fun class because you could hear them all laughing and like cheering.
no, I think
swear.
no. But I think it's the difference in the cultures, or not the cultures, in the sexes, because men will
was
look
so
at a
taboo for
giant
the
dick.
women. Yeah.
Guys will look at a giant dick, and if like our teacher Ruben can confirm if he was here, our teacher would like point stuff out on the wall. He's like it looks like he's like grabbing the ball sack as he's talking about it.
Yeah.
He's like massaging the ball sack. It was like the whole thing was funny. And plus you
Yeah.
see it like a dick is just a funny thing.
Right.
Like there's a reason why comedians can go on stage and just fucking have their balls just hanging out,
Mm-hmm.
because dicks and balls are generally like a funny thing.
Right.
It's like it's so weird looking. Why do we have a little stick thing and like a weird shriveled bag looking thing? Like why do we have that? Like even females have like more aesthetically pleasing sex organs. Like the boobs look good, they're full, they're not like weird. Like if your boobs have balls coming out of them, it'd be a little weird, right?
That'd be
Or like a
little
dick
weird.
in between your boobs.
Oh,
Like
no.
that'd be a little weird.
Yeah.
But just in general, penises and balls are weird. Like they're just funny looking and comical. They're comical in a way.
Okay.
You know,
Well, it's kind of like a bow tie, but God got sloppy with it and just kind of
yeah.
stuck it.
Well, it's just like if you ever see what's that thing that chickens have? That male chickens. The roosters.
Shoot, what is that? The guzzle?
The guzzle, the thing on
Is
the
that what
like
it's
yeah,
called?
when
Yeah.
you see that, it's funny.
Yeah.
Like you've never even if you never associated it with balls. Like you see it and you see it go, and you see it fucking jiggling and you're kind of like giggling. You're like, it looks stupid, just that thing dangling there, right? Same thing with a dick and ball. So I think as a kid, you laugh about that shit because you're just like, look at this idiot looking like he's massaging the dick or whatever
Yeah.
as he's pointing it, because we didn't have a laser pointer apparently, or our teacher just wanted to go up and just
Rub them balls.
rub
you
it
know?
down or whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's a funnier thing. But young
It's more
women,
taboo for
it's more
us.
taboo. It's
Yeah.
also more like it's an internal organ too. So you guys are more private about what it is, and you guys don't have as much to show
Well,
when it comes to.
and it's so interesting because I think even in the education that I did get, they don't really teach the women about their anatomy, like to the extent of like how we have a G-spot or how to orgasm or like what.
But see, I don't
this-
think you're supposed to teach that.
I think they need to though.
Why?
Because it's kind of one of those things where and I've heard this from a couple different ladies I've talked to, is they don't know whether or not they have ever had an orgasm.
Oh, that makes me cry. I've talked to women. I've known women who are like that. Like I've talked to women who are like that they don't know if they had an orgasm.
And it's
like,
kind of, and for a man, I mean, you see it or, whatever.
well, because we have an external organ versus you guys.
It's one of those things. And especially, if you get in the whole religious side, it's kind of like, no, you shouldn't do this, whatever. But
Wait, do what? Have sex in general?
no, to masturbate.
Oh.
And
Well, it's not like they're teaching men in sex ed how to jerk off.
no, but you guys just like wiggle it and it gets hard and you just want to yank
No,
on
it's
it.
not even that, girl.
No?
It's so awkward in the beginning because when you're young and your body starts changing and like early too. It's like I didn't get puberty till later, but even in the early days of junior high, like you're sitting there and Miss Rogers or some shit is teaching you how to like do the quadratic equation and you're like, okay. And then all of a sudden you have a fucking rock hard dick. Like for no reason. Like you're literally watching her do the quadratic equation. You're like, well, why is that X even there?
And then all of a sudden.
And then you
it
have her
just-
dick. Oh, you're a rock hard dick. And the whole time you're just praying. You're like, don't have her call me to go up there to solve this problem.
Right.
Like, and that's happened to me before. And as a boy, it's like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, what the fuck? Why is my dick just like acting on its own? And there's no way around it. So
Yeah.
early on, our biology definitely teaches us that something happens down here. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like every boy in the world ever just took a shower and then just started, loofahing his dick, and he's like, oh my God, it's getting hard. That's crazy. How hard can I get it? Let's play this game, right? It's not like a balloon. So that's not how it goes down. For every single man, probably ever, I want to even, I'm not one to speak in absolutes, but I want to say this is an absolute. For every guy ever, I think you're most likely to find out that your dick can get hard just based on it happening. It just happened. So,
Yeah.
which is awkward, right? Like as a woman, I don't know. I'm still debating what's worse, like getting hard when you get turned on, or getting wet when you get turned on. Because getting hard, it's like, fuck, everybody knows you're turned on, right? But getting wet, it's like nobody knows. But you say it's uncomfortable if you're really turned on.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Let me rephrase that. It's not like uncomfortable. It's just like, you're getting turned on, and then if you get turned off, you're still dealing with the wetness until
it doesn't just sponge back up.
No, because then it soaks like everything.
So.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it doesn't do that. But
I just assumed it would.
No, it causes like, you're dealing with it until you change out of whatever you have on down there.
But because it's an internal organ, doesn't it keep it cinched in though? Like the wetness?
There's always like a moisture down there, and it changes. But when you get turned on, it's a completely different. It's like literally like lubrication. It's different.
Yeah, well, I'm still debating what's worse. Because once again, nobody knows you're turned on. You can go home. The whole point is that you could go your whole day of being turned on in the morning. Like, let's say you wake up and then you take a shower and you get on the bus, and on the bus you see a hot dude and you get turned on. But then you could go your whole day.
Right.
And you can get back home and
honestly,
you'll be fine.
I think it is worse being a guy.
Because
in
you
the
can't
sense
just,
of that, though.
Yeah, because you can't. Right. In the sense of that, I think it's worse as a guy because you can't just Stonehenge your dick all day. Like,
Right,
you can't get on the bus and then Stacy's looking good and you're like, Stacy.
Yeah.
It's summertime with those shorts.
Yeah.
And then you're just fucking Stonehenge cocked the whole time. You're not going to be walking to your algebra class and you're like, hey, Miss Robertson, how you doing with just your man staff? Well, by then it's a little boy staff. Your boy stick just saying hello to the world.
Oh, man.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's awkward.
Yeah, that would be definitely awkward. I think in the sense of like hiding it from people, I think that would be definitely worse than the female portion, I guess, of it all. That's for sure.
Okay, so let's backtrack because now we've gotten to the sexual stuff.
Sorry.
So let's backtrack.
Back to picking up men.
So picking up men. So as a woman, you feel like all women do this, that you guys already pick out like the guy that you see a guy, you think he's attractive. In your mind, you're already like mentally, not physically, you're already like the doors have opened for either dating or sex or just hanging out or you magically already opened up that fucked up door that's called friendship.
The friend zone.
And all the other ones have just been locked.
Yeah.
Click, click, click,
exactly.
click, click.
Yeah. Well, and I think especially with the friend zone too, I mean, I have a couple guy friends that is completely friendship only. I don't see them as anything else. Period.
Damn. You want to throw some names on here? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Some guys are like, fuck, let me take out a pencil. Make sure I'm not on here.
Yeah.
This is like the Powerball I don't want to win.
But no, really though, if I go work out or whatever and I see a guy, I can automatically know whether or not like I want to date this guy or I want to sleep with this guy. And at that point, it's just like zoning in on them.
By the way, gentlemen, that doesn't mean that you could just go up to him and be like, you want to fuck. It's not going to work that way, right? Like if you see an attractive guy, and of course this all varies based on morals and values and whatever.
That we're stripping all of that away from.
Assuming you're stripping that away. I mean, you still can't go up to a girl and be like, you want to fuck, even though she's already opened the fucking door. Like you still gotta be wooed, right? You still gotta be. At least most girls. Some girls are probably just like fucking sneak around the corner real quick. Yeah. So I guess that's not a good question to ask.
Yeah. No, I think though, when it comes, if a guy ever came up to me and was like, let's fuck, I'd be like, really? No, I don't want to do that. But and this is that double standard. Girl comes up to you as a guy and says, let's fuck. What would you do?
Most guys would be like, right now, let's go find a spot.
Oh my God. See, that's like total double standard. But no.
No, it is a double standard, 100%. I'm not disagreeing with you that it is a double standard. What I'm saying is more along the lines that ultimately, like, I hate fucking making this excuse because it sounds like an excuse, but it's not. Like, our DNA is telling us to do something. So I would even argue the fact that your body wants something, your heart or whatever, your soul or however you define that is wanting something, but your chimp DNA, which is what I reference to all the time, wants something all different altogether. And your people are complex in a way where let's talk about you. You might be into a guy and your body's like, okay, I'm primed and ready to go. Your heart is like, I want to, the door's open, but now we got to make him work for a little bit. We can't just be a slut, right? Or whatever. Sorry if I threw a fucking title over it.
I was just about to say, is it a bad thing if I did just go for it then? Because you just totally opened the whole can.
Hold on. We'll get there. But then your DNA, your chimp DNA is like, Good genes, good bone structure, seems healthy, good clean skin. He's clean. He's got good muscularity. He's got good features. He'd be good for breeding. Let's do this. And so one of these three things has to take superiority and say where it is. And this is why I feel like children are not raised properly these days, because it's not just about sex we're talking about. It's about making decisions about stealing or beating people up or doing questionable shit. Ultimately, with the brain or the mind or the soul or whatever the fuck you want to call it, has to be the deciding factor every time. Mm-hmm. Because if this is the shitty analogy, but if all your shitty friends are jumping off of a bridge, your DNA might probably tell you no. Your body's like excitement and adrenaline bit might be like, let's fucking do it. Right. But your values, your morals have to be the ones that tell you, no, dumb fuck, like that's a bad idea. Your friends are dead down there, right? So same thing with sex. And ultimately, I feel like your mind's the one that's going to take over the bus and say, no, dumbasses, stay in the back. I'll take over. And this is my point again about parenting just not being there anymore. Like everybody, and I'm not blaming parents. I'm just blaming the fact that in today's society, everybody has to work. And so we spend less and less time raising our kids. So the values and the structure that we should be giving them isn't there. So that when these decisions come up, it isn't just like chicks blowing you in the back of a studio apartment or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But anyways, sorry, you were asking a question? Oh, would it be bad if a girl just slept with a dude?
Well, and I guess, because you're like, because then she'll be the slut.
And I'm like, wait. Up. My bad, ladies.
Wait, why is that?
Because guys can be sluts too, by the way. Why is that? Because as a woman, you're in a bad situation. If you get in a situation where ultimately, look, maybe a guy is just looking for sex, right? Mm-hmm. And you're just looking for sex. And those two things match. Your mental side is wanting sex, your physical side is wanting sex, and your fucking monkey DNA is saying sex. And maybe it's the same three things for a guy, right? Ultimately, it's perfect, right? It's a perfect scenario. Okay, cool. So after you get done having sex, because sex isn't just a very simple thing. There's also bonding hormones that happen. There's also attachments that happen at times. There's also, if it's really good sex, maybe the orgasms make you whatever. People get crazy and emotions start getting into the play, right? The problem is that after you've both helped each other out in this situation, the hard part is going to be if, for example, let's say the female develops feelings. Or the male develops feelings, and it was just for sex, you're in a bad situation. Yeah. Because you also can't expect there to be a relationship after that. Right. Because most guys or most girls even will look at that and be like, yo, dude, because you have friends that'll be like, dude, I was just having sex with that guy, and now he wants to date me. Fuck that. Right. And there'll be guys who say the exact same thing, or maybe your girl comes up to you and she's like, dude, I was just trying to have sex with this guy on Tinder, and like he's not hitting me up all the time wanting to have sex. He wants to take me on a date, and you're just like, dude, I don't want to start a relationship with the dude I just met off of Tinder. Yeah. That happens all the time. Yeah, that does. Or a guy will be like, yo, bro, hooked up with this chick yesterday. Sex was awesome, but now she's calling me all the time. I don't know why. And like, I don't know, bro. Like, I can't have a relationship with a chick that like I just fucked once. Like, how many dudes is she fucking? Oh my god. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay, wait. You just said how many dudes is she fucking?
How many dudes is she fucking,
Look,
bro?
here's the thing.
Bro, I gotta get on the beach. Let's go.
I think it's a weird thing that guys want this like pure woman, and they could probably just ran a train on like 10 women.
Ooh, ran a train. That's horrible language on my PG-13 podcast. How dare you?
My apologies. I'm, but it's just I've had this come up before where I was talking with someone and they were saying, yeah, I'm not into like chicks that sleep around or whatever, but this person was a complete slut man.
Oh, the guy was a slut.
The guy
Sorry.
was a complete slut.
I make a horrible mistake of hearing the word slut, and for some fucking reason, like that is always used as a female term. Mm-hmm. And so when you use it for a guy, like I'm thinking, hold on, wait, I'm lost in the story. So I apologize. It is, yeah. And it's a fucked up double standard, but it is a double standard, and it's kind of been built into my head. But continue.
Is that because it's like a underlying thought that this woman has already been impregnated, so therefore she's not the perfect specimen, or other dudes' penises like have shaped her canals differently?
Okay, so I had to think about that a little bit. So why is it a double standard? No, we're talking about shit. I lost it already. We're talking about girls being the word whore and girls being. We had to pause it because you had to take a phone call.
Yeah, sorry.
I better reference that. So I apologize. I'm going to be kicking myself in the ass when I listen to this again. So we're talking about.
I'm pretty sure it was on the fact that men want a virgin girl versus like women. I mean, like I was telling you about my friend who was sleeping with a bunch of women, but yet he didn't want a woman that was sleeping with a bunch of men. I was like,
why is that? Oh, that's right. That's where we were.
I'm like, is it because they know that this woman has been entered into several times and then just changed the shape of her canals?
Does that happen?
No. At least I don't think so. It's but back in the old days,
that's what they thought.
They thought, yeah. So if a man, let's say you get married and she's virgin, then it would create the canal, the shape of the man's penis. And then if she ever slept with somebody else and she comes back to sleep with her husband could tell that she was sleeping with someone else. So that's a thing that I've heard about.
Yeah, that was some old time saying, right? Like that was something that was definitely said a lot. Why has it changed? So there is no good answer to this, and there really isn't. I think the new generation that's coming up will have a slightly different mindset than the guys.
Do you really think so, though?
I think so, because I think the newer generation will understand that. And the reason why I say the newer generation is because the kids are now approaching sexuality, and for some reason I find that women, I think, are getting their periods very, very young now. At least what I didn't think they used to get them at.
Like how young do you think?
I thought you guys used to get them like in your like mid-teens, but now girls are getting them in their like early, if not like tens or whatever.
Yeah,
like that's fucking
normal.
Incredibly early.
Yeah.
I thought it was later, but maybe it's just my wrong data, or maybe things have changed because of hormones or whatever. You know, people always make that argument.
Right. I guess it kind of goes back to equality too, like with kids and the new upcoming generation is they're being taught equality, which is great. So it kind of goes back to the whole like women should come up and ask out men, or like men.
Damn, Skippy. Damn right. You girls better stop just staring at dudes, hoping dudes come over and talk to you and be like, yo, ma, can I get that number, dough? Like, fuck that shit. You guys need to go up to guys and be like, yo, dude, I see that bulge in that pants.
Yeah, but I think
give me them digits?
Comes down to different circumstances too. I don't think, and what is the likely of the man to, I mean, a woman can go straight up to a man and be like, hey, let's go on a date. But I think they would think more of a DTF than an actual relationship. If a girl is interested.
No, I think if you're clear and you're like, I want to go on a date with you, then you go on a date. Versus like if you go up to a dude and be like, hey, I saw you wearing sweats.
Yeah,
and that outline is quite large.
Wouldn't that be weird if, okay, let's say you were working out at the gym and some random
right, I'm over here
chick,
like, oh, yeah, 400 pounds. Suck it.
So then you could, so if the woman comes up to you and she's like, hey, my name is whatever, I really find you attractive, can we go on a date? That's a weird way.
No, I think that's cool.
Really?
Yeah, no, I'd be into that. ladies. I'd be into that, honestly. You know why? Because I feel like that's a woman who is confident in herself enough to be like, okay, if he says no, he says no. See, this is the fucking double standard. You girls want to talk about fucking equality, and you girls want to talk about whatever. But the reality is, all you fucking feminists, and you might not be a hardcore feminist, but all you fucking feminists, pull up a fucking chair. Daddy's gonna drop some fucking knowledge on your faces, on your beautiful faces. So the reality about feminism is that women want things to be equal, but they only want to choose. Okay, this is a Bill Burr joke. I'm gonna show this joke after we get off the podcast. Women only want to choose what they want to be equal. They want to pick and choose what they want to do equally, but all the other shit, they're like, fuck that. That's the shitty shit. You get that. So when it comes to like pay, when it comes to jobs, when it comes to rights, when it comes to stuff, you guys want it equal. You guys want it equal, and I agree. You should have it equal. I'm one of those motherfuckers. I'm not white knighting it. I'm not trying to save a hoe. I agree. You should have it equal. But be aware that in other situations, we should have it equal as well. Don't just pick and choose what you want. You want to go on a date? You treat us out every once in a while. You want to go or we'll go Dutch, right? Or is it French? We'll go Dutch.
Dutch.
So, but if you want to ask out a dude, you want the dude to ask you out.
Right.
Fuck that. We're going to equality. You got to start asking dudes out. All right? If you want to you women get all fucking crazy and you start swinging on dudes, you want equality? We'll get you some goddamn equality. I'm about to square the fuck up. I'm going to get a couple warm-ups. You're going to see me bobbing. I'll be like, whew, left and right, just bobbing, a little warm-up. You see me do a little leg stretches. I'm like, let me get them hamstrings. Let's do this. Square up, girl. Square up.
Because you know you would win that fight.
No. It's not about winning, because there's some girls who've knocked out some dudes, all right? Like, go on YouTube. You'll find them. Okay? In fact, if I fucking fight Ronda Rousey, she's got a real good chance of knocking my ass out.
Probably.
Right? Yeah. The reality is, it's not. My point is that the argument about female equality is fine, but y'all just want to sometimes pick the shit you want to be equal on. But you still want to be able to fucking hit a dude if you lose your fucking shit. Right? That's not equality. Like, some of y'all women are like, yeah, he's going to take me on a date. And the moment that the movie guy's like $14.95, the girl's like, oh, my phone's ringing. Let me just answer this right quick. Like, you want equality? No. Let's talk about equality. No, I'm going to drop this mic right here and just go crazy.
I don't think that happens all the time. And my thing is if, let's say, I ask a guy out, I am automatically going to be picking up the check because I asked them out.
In all honesty, I'm just busting your balls. I'm busting your balls, but really making a joke out of a real situation. The reality is, like, I think the hardcore feminists that I fucking often just talk shit about is like, those are the same women there that want to be able to pick the things they want, but don't want equality throughout. And if you want equality throughout, then that's fine. But when you're, fucking getting angry and you see a chick swinging on a dude, whether you're drunk or not, that doesn't excuse things. You need to be able to control yourself despite that, because that means that you should be able to give the guy an excuse if he gets drunk to beat your ass.
Right.
See, the reality is that we want to talk fancy, but we don't want to talk about the reality of that fancy talk and walk. We don't want to talk about, yeah, man, I go home, I go hard in the paint. I pick my girl up, I give her flowers and shit, and then I take her out of this nice-ass restaurant, and then we go out balling and shit, clubbing, and I buy her Cristal and shit. You want to talk all that fancy shit, but the reality is you get home and you're like, fuck, my bank account is empty. I got nothing. I got nothing. Like, I'm fucking broke. Next week, ramen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the situation. That's the reality, right? So this is the same thing. You want equality, but in those equal situations, you're like, fuck, I didn't want that level of equality. I started whooping on him because he's used to just holding me down. He's the stronger of the sex. Well, yeah, he is. And now we have to start out having this argument about things aren't that equal in certain respects.
Right.
Just because you're not the strongest of the sex gives you the right to beat up on a man. Because that does something to a man. I'm not excusing guy beaters, and I hate that shit. I would never excuse it. But also keep in mind what psychologically you're doing to them. You're putting him in a fucked up situation. Like, let's say you get fucking crazy and you're doing this shit in front of his boys, in front of his family, in front of his mom. The fuck? Like, it's not okay for it to happen for a guy to hit you. And this is not where I mean to bring the podcast to at all. But it's not okay for a guy to ever hit a woman. Let me be 100% straight. I don't believe in that shit at all. But at the same time, women also that get crazy need to be fucking accountable for their actions. They need to be accountable for what they're doing. Because let's say, right, that a woman, let's say fucking you're dating Ronda Rousey and you're just not the dude to date Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
And she fucking goes ape shit. I don't know what Ronda Rousey is like. Maybe she's crazy when she drinks. What if she drinks and goes ape shit on a dude that she's dating, some soft fucking dude that's never seen anything but a skateboard in his life? She fucking clocks him. He falls back, hits his head and dies. Right? Mm-hmm. Then we can talk about real case scenarios. But in all the other situations, I went a little too deep with that reference. In all the other situations, like, it's beneficial for a woman. If a woman comes down and starts beating the shit out of a dude and he's fine, cops come by, they're like, all right, whatever, you're good. We're just going to give you guys a ticket for disturbing the peace or some shit,
yeah.
right? But if a dude comes out and he does the equal level of damage, let's say he just scratches her in the face a little bit. That's just a little scratch, just the same thing as she did when she was swinging on him crazy.
Right.
Then are we going to talk about her getting the same charges and being prosecuted the same by a jury as a male does? It's not equal. And we got to talk about those things because feminists like to be real quick about equality, but things aren't equal in many respects.
Yeah.
And men and women are biologically, just like you can carry a child and we can't. It's just like we can produce sperm and you can't. We are different. We are in many respects.
Yeah.
How the fuck did we get here? Oh, the differences between men and man, I fucking ranted like a motherfucker. That's one of those clips I need to chop up and throw into my rants. But back to the argument. So when we're talking about why is it a double standard, it's a couple different things, and none of these are good arguments. None of these are good. Mm-hmm. One of which is the old male bravado that talks about like, my woman should be pure. This is just mine.
Yeah.
She mine.
Yeah.
Only been mine ever. Right? But then, that's not a great relationship either. That mindset is not a great relationship either. Two, guys, and although it is a double standard, it's also softly based on biology that we are physically different. And so when you're sleeping with a dude, you're being entered versus when a dude is sleeping with a woman, he's entering. So it's a dumb reason. I said it was a dumb reason. I see you rolling your eyes because women in the podcast are going to be like, this girl's not standing up for us. It is a double standard, but it's a dumb reason. But biologically, I think men have this dumb shit in their head where they're like, well, how many dudes have been inside of her? Right? But I think there is hope in the horizon, as we talked about earlier, with the new generation being so sexual and I'm assuming being exposed to pornography and things so early on. I think that'll change because I think that the future perception will be like, dude, the likelihood of you hitting a virgin is like very slim. You almost have to assume that women have had other partners. And I think the concept of wanting to be the only one is a weird, seedy, possessional concept. It's a bad one. You almost have to just assume that somebody's had a past before you, and you have to learn as a goddamn adult to learn how to get past that. You can't be that fucking kid who's like, I have action figure number 45 and it's never been opened and it's still in the packaging in the corner of my room. Like, you can't be that motherfucker. Like, get a goddamn toy who somebody's playing with, because there is some character to that. There's something about that. You can actually fucking play with this toy versus the one that you have in the corner. Wow, some crazy chick, I'm just thinking in my head right now, some crazy ass chick is going to be like, so what? I'm a fucking toy now for you to fucking play with? Anyways, shut the fuck up. Let me continue this rant, lady. So you gotta take the fucking toy out of the box and enjoy the toy. And that's life, right? When you die, that fucking toy the toy soul isn't going with you to the afterlife if you believe in that, right? Like, this isn't Egypt where your shit's going with you when you die. Ultimately, that toy will end up in that box in that corner forever and ever and ever, and never played with it. Like, it's almost saddening to me to think about that thing you could have had fun with and showed off and been like, yo, check out my fucking Wolverine number 44 with like the metal cloth colored claws or whatever, you know, instead of seeing it in the corner, just being like, oh, that's such a nice collectible. Yeah, Mom, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, that makes sense.
So, yes, it's based on some dumb shit, but biology and possessiveness and I think social problems. I think socially we tend to be like, hey, it's bad for a girl to do this, but it's okay for a guy to do this. I fucked that up. It's bad for a girl to do this, but good for a guy to do this. I think it's some weird. I think it's weird, to be honest with you. I think it's just a fucked up social standard, and I think hopefully I have confidence that I don't know if this coffee is helping or hurting. It's helping me be more animated for sure. But I think that I have confidence and hopes that the future will change because of kids' sexuality, understanding that, you know, kids are having sex earlier and experiencing things earlier. And I know for you, maybe for your beliefs, that doesn't help. It's not a good thing.
Right. Yeah.
But I think ultimately, that's the only way sexuality is going to be less of a taboo. And I think that's kind of why we paint ourselves into these corners, because sexuality is a taboo. Like you're okay with being with your girls being like, dang girl, you haven't gotten some in a while. You looking like you bitchy, right? Like you tell me
I've heard that before.
right? Like
Yeah.
you tell me these stories how your girls tell you that, but that only comes from the fact that like that's as crazy as we get, and like in a business world, for example, or any sort of professional world, that's as crazy as we get. Like the craziest we get is when my boys are like, yo dog, unless you're a fucking hardcore dog and you're like, yo dog, yesterday I like went 4 inches into my girl and then I slowly just increased it a little bit. You know what I mean? Most guys will not get into that situation, except for that time I told you that one dude busted out the home video that he started showing his boys.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Yeah, that's hella weird, but we'll talk about that later. My point, before I lose my point is that ultimately, like, it's taboo. Sex is so taboo that we don't really talk about it. You probably don't go up to your girls very often, if you do, and go like, "Hey, was this weird girl? This the other day he was doing this thing he's never done, and and he did this and this and this and this and this, and like very descriptive, very like talking about it's sex is still taboo, and that's I think why there's a problem with that, because we still, as guys, our monkey DNA is still telling us like. And I feel like this is like some weird hunting shit where you're like, I hunted that buck. I was the only one that hunted that buck. I got that buck for the fucking village. I did it. I fed all these motherfuckers that you see eating by the fire. I fed them with that fucking buck I just bought. I bought it. And I brought it by myself. These lazy motherfuckers that you see eating right there, the dude with the weird lip and the dude with the fucking eyebrow over there, those motherfuckers didn't help me. I brought that buck on my own.
Right.
And you just stand in front of the fire and you're like,
you're welcome.
that's right, motherfuckers. You're welcome. That's my buck right there. How good is that shit? Real good, huh? Yeah, I know. I'm going to go and fuck my wife now. I'll see you guys later. Enjoy the buck.
Oh my God.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's where it's coming from. I feel like this is all going to be clips that I'm using during the week for teasers. I feel like that's where that dumb monkey shit comes from. It's just evolutionary shit where you're like, it's mine, right? And I feel like we want to do that with women as men, and that's a bad way of approaching, for sure.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, like I didn't have to do a 40-minute rant or whatever I just did, but I tend to get ranty. That's my shit.
Yep.
That's my shit. So back to the home porno thing. Yeah, that was weird. I didn't like that. I think I've told it on the podcast before. Where
I think you have.
For those of you that haven't, I'll summarize it. And Ruben can confirm this because he was there. We went to a friend's house. He was having a house party, and like all the guys went into a room for some freaking reason. Which, by the way, it sounds shady already. And this guy was like showing a home video of him and his girl. I think he was still dating her at the time. And it was like, it was weird. The whole thing was weird. Like he was showing a home video, like very detailed, like HD-like video of like his dick going into her. Sorry for those PG-13 kids. He showed that, and I'm like, dude, this is weird. First of all, I don't want to see your dick. Secondly, I know her. This is weird. This is weird because I don't think she'd be okay with this. Maybe that's just my like white knight shit coming out, but it's just weird. I'm like, dog, I don't need to know which way your dick curves. I'm good. Thank you. I'll see you later.
Well, and I think you're coming from a different, I wouldn't say generation, but you're in a different time period where I am, and it's even gotten increased. You think a
What have you seen? What have you been exposed to?
I've been exposed to
Let's
quite
talk about it. Apparently you got some stories. Let's drop some knowledge.
I do have some stories, but a lot of them are not the best scenarios.
Okay, that's fine. We don't have to share if you want to share.
Yeah. So, no, okay, I'll tell you one. I was in high school, and there was like it seems it always happens at parties for some reason, but everybody had gotten drunk, and there was like two couples like having sex in the same room.
Like
One's on
closed door though, right? Like you guys had to get in, or were they open, or in the middle?
No. So like it was one couple on the bed and one couple on the floor. So they were doing the dirty next to each other. You can hear them.
Which one were you? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
So were they making eye contact? Were they like competing?
There was that time. I mean, like the times that I can even think about. I mean, I've even walked in on one of my exes face deep in my best friend. So
face deep, very visual, very nice. I like that.
Yeah. So I mean, like you think it's weird having a video where I saw an ex-boyfriend eating out my best friend, and me being like, "Hey, we need to go."
You're like, "Well, yo, you were stingy with that tongue game with me. What the? No, I'm just kidding."
Yeah. So I mean, it's just a little weird.
But did you walk in on, or did you open the door?
No,
and
actually, I was in another room with another person, and we were in the bedroom. No, we were playing a game or whatever. So we were in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah. Hide and seek, what? I'm sure, right? That was the game.
No.
Hide and seek.
No.
Let's hide this thing and seek
come
it.
On. No. So here's what happened. It was me.
This podcast went fucking from PG-13 to
like
rated R and now to A.
Well,
rated
then
A.
viewer discretion advised ahead. We played a game. We were drinking, and the game like would make you go into different rooms, make you do different things, like switch clothes, take this off, take that off.
Okay, before you go, sorry, I hate interrupting. I'm so sorry, but I gotta know, who picked this game? A guy, right?
No.
A girl picked this game?
Yeah.
Wow. See, typically that's the kind of shit guys do to just start the little flirtiness. So they're like, okay, let's play spin the bottle, because I like that game. Yeah. That game's really cool.
No, it was a girl that picked it, but they brought the alcohol. So, and long story short, I had to switch clothes with the guy. So me and the guy go in the closet. We switch clothes. We come back out, and they were like going to town. Like they were butt naked. It was just
how long did it take for you guys to switch clothing that they fucking started going at it by the time you guys switched clothes? There's more than switching clothing going on, guys. I'm saying right now, I don't believe this story. I don't believe this story.
So anyways, yeah. So
there was more than clothes changing.
So I feel like the generations as you get older, like seeing your friend's dick or like seeing your friend's vagina or whatever, is like gonna get desensitized more.
You're right. Look, and I'll make you a better point for my earlier argument about guys being possessive about women.
Okay.
That's almost always a young guy shit too, or an inexperienced guy shit.
Inexperienced.
Because if you think about it, let's say you've been through some relationships that didn't work out and you find yourself being single at like 50. At 50, let it go, girl. Let it go. This isn't your life. But what I'm saying is at 50, you're going to be a lot less picky about whether or not your girl's a virgin or not.
Right.
So once again, it comes down to the probably it's also because how did Eric phrase it? I love this phrase. He said young and cock hard. Like when you're young and fucking cock hard, like the reality is that your testosterone's high and you're like, fuck yeah, like I want to be with the girl. And then you're like, but I don't want a girl who somebody else has been with. Like that's some dumb shit that you have because you're young and experienced, You're cock hard. But when you're 50 and you're not quite so cock hard, like you're like, okay, at 50, she must have hooked up with someone.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
That goes away.
Yeah.
When you're dating, you're no longer being like, hold on, I'm sorry, excuse me, what? You've been with someone? I was expecting you to have just gone to the Dolly Wop with
Dolly
Steven and gone on his carriage and had a kiss under the
God.
moonlight. Like, that goes away. That shit's gone. It's still like, all right, cool. You've been with people, so have I. It happens.
Right.
So I'm starting to chew on this idea more. This is what I do. I chew on shit for a while, like a camel. I'm like, oh, it's a young kid shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a grouchy old guy. I'm gonna be like, you fool little fuckers, little whippersnappers don't know what you're doing. Get off my fucking lawn.
Oh, jeez.
I'm gonna be Bill Burr when I get older.
There you go.
Anyways, yeah. So what else do you want to talk about? So we kind of worked. I feel like I've answered your question about why guys are why the double standard on sex and.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot to be worked out with the different sexes, like with double standards and equality. I don't think we have it right, but I think this is a good aim in the right direction of equality. I think there's a lot of feminists out there that have kind of ridiculous views on, and the one thing that makes it very upsetting is I don't agree with them demasculizing men. Like, they're stripping men's masculinity away, and I don't like that, because I think that's one of the most attractive qualities in men is masculinity.
Well, that's a big separation line, right? Like, that's a good way to separate the sexes.
Yeah, but I think that's like feminists are wanting to strip all of that away from men. Like, you guys are being men. Oh my God, he's being such a dude. Like whatever. And it's such a negative outlook.
Okay, but I think you've said that shit before too, Missy.
In the way, like, if a guy is being, oh God,
I just put your ass on blast. Put your ass on blast.
No, I'm saying, like, in the sense. Okay, look, I'm pretty sure I've said that before, but it's for valid reason, not for like men's grunting in the gym or whatever. Like, you're grunting in the gym because it's probably really heavy, and you grunt to lift heavier. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about the dirty. No, I'm talking about the dirty old men that, catcall and say some dirty shit to us women. I don't like that.
But that's going away, but it's coming back in a different way.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
when has it ever gone away? It's everywhere. I think you're saying that because you're not.
I don't do it. But also, like, I have never seen it personally in my life. Like, maybe I've seen like whistling and some kind of like.
Hey, mama, come here.
I haven't seen that.
Let me get at you. Really?
I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
I also don't frequent weird places like that, like clubs and shit like that.
It happened in the parking lot at the gym while leaving the other day. Some two big old broly black dudes were coming out of the gym.
Brolic.
Broly. Yeah. I say Broly.
Broly is a guy from DBZ.
Oh, is it?
Broly is the big motherfucker from DBZ, like the Brolic guy in DBZ. That's but you're looking Brolic.
Yeah, but these dudes were just like constant. First off, they were following me to my car.
That's creepy.
That is weird. And secondly, they were like, "Hey, mama. Hey, mommy." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I have headphones in. Like, what do you want?" He's like, "You got a trainer, girl? The ass." I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna walk away. It's like they put you in an uncomfortable position.
Yeah, I don't see too much of that, but I think it's also like who I hang out with isn't like that. Mm-hmm. With that said, though, like, I think that's just some dumb shit that will never go away. And you know where I see more of that happening is like Instagram comments. You'll see the thirst on Instagram comments with guys being like, real. It's like guys DMing girls and girls will post the DMs and like guys being like, oh, fucking just saying horrible shit. And I'm like, what is that? Like, what is that? That's some monkey shit. Mm-hmm. That's some monkey shit, because no logical male is going to sit down and be like, man, after she reads this comment about what I do to that ass, she's going to send me a DM and want me to pick her up and I'm going to take her out and we're going to do that to that ass. Like, I can't imagine.
Or dudes DMing like dick pics. Like, why?
Why? I don't know what that is.
Why do you do this?
I don't know what that is. I'm trying to figure that out because I've never done that.
I don't get it. It's like maybe it's the excitement of like us opening it and seeing their dick,
voyeurism.
And them like totally jerking off the fact that we saw it.
Yeah. And maybe it's what it is. It's a voyeurism thing where it's just like, yeah, I got her to see my dick.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, some people get turned on. Like, voyeurism's a thing. Like, some people just get turned on with other people kind of seeing them.
Or maybe they just want to be ignored. I know that's a thing. Like, that's a thing where what was it? I had a girlfriend that did this where
What?
you can set up a telephone and it's called like the ignore line or something. So you just give your number out and like guys will call. Obviously this is part of like the sex industry, like paid jobs. So it's like they're paying you to ignore you. Or like if you want to Skype, you could get paid like $500 to just have them sit on Skype with you and you just do your normal stuff and like ignore them. They get off to that.
Well, maybe that's more voyeurism as well, where the guy is like turned on just seeing your normal day in and day out.
Yeah.
But I've heard stories of men who are into women who, like powerful men, rich men who have like titles and have like notoriety, and they're very into women dominating them.
Yes.
Because they've never been in a position where they're being dominated.
Right.
They're always like the CEOs or the powerful guys.
Right.
They want somebody to just. And some of these guys go crazy. Like, they want to be put in chains and whips. And they want crazy shit because they want somebody to dominate them.
And there's another one, too, that I've heard where this guy would pay a girl, basically, he'll email her like, during their, like, sexcapade kind of thing, he'll email her his wife's information, be like, you know.
Oh, fuck that, dude. That's like, crazy.
Yeah, and this gets real. Like, he'd be like, tell my wife, da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, oh, I'm going to tell your wife, like, this. It's
like,
kind of like...
But it's like I'm not guilt-tripping you, but I'm
manipulating you, or like,
kind of, but they're not gonna do it, right?
She'd never do it, but like the more, and then the same dude, I'm sorry, I have to bring this up, but the same dude like made a fake email pretending it was his wife, like, what did my husband do? But guys are kind of dumb, no offense, when it comes to like kind of making it look real. Like, tell me what he did with you, like,
so he's getting off on both ends. That's weird.
Yeah, it's more like a sexual thing or whatever. So, but
once again, like, this is, I think, another reason why sex is taboo is because everybody has such different wants and needs.
Yeah.
So like, as like, if you're some big ass CEO dudes, like some Nikola Tesla motherfucker who's just fucking Iron Man rich, and you're just making crazy shit, and you're like, they got news stories about you just being this new innovator who's gonna like revolutionize like travel, but yet you're also the dude who likes to put on heels and likes to have a girl walk you around because like it makes you
like embarrassed
or whatever, like
humiliation is what it's called.
There we go. That's
humiliation.
The word. Sorry.
Yeah, humiliation.
I think it's
like,
sexuality is a weird thing, and we're weird creatures, but I think
everybody's got like but the thing is though, is like, because everybody has like their niche kind of thing, and it's like, I guess it's kind of opening the door up for more sexual paid jobs. Internet wise.
So do you feel like that's a bad thing?
I think it can be. Yeah, I do actually.
I think it's a back and forth. So if somebody was willing to do a job that gives somebody else pleasure, I don't think there's a bad thing in that, but also be aware of the risk that you could, as the purchaser, be exposed to liking that thing and then going to the next thing.
Yeah, well, and then here's another thing. What do you think of this? I want your opinion on this.
Okay.
So let's just say I have a friend who sells...
We're talking about you. Let's talk about it.
No, definitely not me. I'm just laying that out there right now.
Okay.
No, I have this friend who makes a lot of money off of sending dudes her childhood pictures.
Oh, that's creepy. I was going to go a different one and ask you a different question about
this. So her mom, she told me the story. As she was growing up, this girl never liked to wear clothes or whatever. So she has a lot of like cute little half-naked kid pictures of herself. But she's like, where's the line? Because
I always find that creepy, by the way.
It's kind of pedophilia. Well, it is. It's dudes wanting girl pictures. But she's like, I have the permission.
No, I'm talking about like when you see parents let their kids walk around naked and shit. Like, fuck that shit. Put some clothes on that kid.
Yeah.
I feel weird. Like, if I'm coming over and my friend's kids naked walking around, I'm like, I gotta go. Like, not because I have anything into kids, but I'm like, I'm not trying to see nothing.
Right.
I'm not trying to put in a position where somebody can accuse me of something. Right. Like, I'm not trying to put some fucking clothes on that kid. I'm uncomfortable.
So my question, going back to what we were talking about, is do you find it okay that she's taking control of her own photos and distributing them and having guys pay her $50 per photo?
See, I don't know. There's so many. I got to chew on this a bit because, look, I'm not okay with that because... Oh. Okay, so I'm torn on this. No, I'm not okay with it because the reality is, once again, we got interrupted. You guys probably heard that. I'm not okay with it because I have a hard time with the concept of giving away kids pictures,
But
whether
it's
it's
of
you or not.
herself.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's of herself or not. The reality is like you're feeding pedophilia, right? But the other half of me is also contemplating like there's a difference, and I just learned the difference the other day, but apparently I didn't learn it well enough because I can't remember. There's a difference between somebody who has an attraction to kids naturally, and there's also somebody who goes and has sex with kids or does things with kids.
Yeah.
There's one where it's like pedophilia, and the other one is there's another one, I can't remember the name of it, but basically I hate speaking about things that I have no knowledge in. And that's another reason where like I paint myself into corners because I say dumb shit. But it's like, dude, I don't know what it's like being gay, or I don't know what it's like to have an attraction to kids or be into like a woman dominating me. Like, I don't know what any of this stuff is like. But with that being said, I heard of a guy who's a pedophiliac, which if I'm not mistaken means that you're into kids, like you're sexually into kids, but you don't act on it.
Right.
So the argument was his tale was like, look, I have this problem. I don't know how to cure it. I've gone to people. I don't want to be into kids. I don't want to like kids, but I do. And so his thing's like, I don't want to be, I'm not acting on it. I'm not doing anything about it.
Right.
But is it better to keep that kind of person on the leash by selling you those pictures because it is your pictures or your friend or whatever?
Or do you think it's fueling the fire?
Or do you think it's fueling the fire? I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But I think it makes it slightly better because she's selling the pictures of herself instead of like, them getting it from somewhere else. But I still don't know if I'm like, I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you. And one thing that I'm very quick to say is like, if I don't know something, I'm just going to tell you I don't know and claim ignorance because I don't know what it feels like to be that person. I don't know what it's like to have those feelings and not want to have those feelings. And what if like this is a good viable way for them to get a release from their issue. Like for example, there's a lot of people who are arguing right now that I can't remember the fucking name of it anymore. Apparently I can't remember the name of anything today. There's a drug that they've been using in places where if you have addictive issues, they give you this drug and supposedly it helps with addiction.
I think I've heard that.
And there's arguments about that. And so like, is that okay to fuck, I lost why I even brought this up. Fuck, that coffee did not help. Long story short, I think ultimately it's I don't know enough, and I won't ever be well versed enough. Just like the transgender thing we talked about with a couple weeks ago, I will never know enough to be able to have a well established position, and ultimately, like the people who are in those positions need to be able to make their own arguments for what they're doing, and try to find a jury of people who can be understanding, because a lot of people hear pedophilia and they're going to be like, fuck you.
Well, pedophilia is looked at like the scum of the earth. Because
and they are. And in many ways, if you act upon it, you are.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking of the right word. It's not pedophilia, but if you act upon it. Pedophile? I don't know what the word is. But if you act upon it, I 100% agree. I would, if I had a kid and my kid got something happen to them, you'd be in fucking trouble. They wouldn't find your body. You'd be in the desert somewhere. Like there's no, I have no patience for that shit, because I do think there is something to be said about self-control and discipline. Like if you have a problem with like whatever, like you shouldn't run on autopilot your whole life. Like, situations, you've had these, I'm sure, where you're like, oh, I got to go to work, and you get in your car, and the next thing you know, you're like punching in, and you're like, I don't remember the drive.
Right, yeah, I've had
You're
that.
on auto drive. You're on autopilot, right? Well, the reality is, like, because a lot of us aren't happy with our choices or our lives, we run on autopilot a lot. And I don't think that's okay.
Yeah.
I think you need to be conscious of what you're doing and when you're doing. If you're picking up a cup, you should be thinking about, I'm going to pick this cup and I'm going to drink it. How much am I going to drink? You should be conscious of like, how am I going to put this cup down? If I'm going to put it like this or like this or like this. You need to be conscious. You need to be in the driver's seat of your life. Because if you continue to be on autopilot, these things that you have problems with will continue to resurface in your life, whether it's pedophilia, whether it's drugs, whether it's drinking, whether it's your decisions with food, whether it's your lack of activity, whatever it is in your life. Some of that comes down to accountability. And if you have issues with, what the fuck was the example I gave? They even started this. Pedophilia? No. Anyways, you can't be on autopilot. And I think if you're a conscious individual that is conscious of what you're doing, then you should be able to be very active in the choices that you're making. Just like when you're driving, if you're not on autopilot and you're in the moment and you're clicking the turn signal, you're turning the wheel, you know how much have to turn the wheel for your car, you're parking your car, you're putting it in park, you're turning off the key.
Right.
If you're doing all of those things in your mind and actively doing them in your mind, then you also have the power to say, no, today I'm not going to fucking go after kids. No, today I'm not going to drink. No, today I'm not going to do cocaine.
I watched Ted Bundy's last interview before he was
Put to death.
And he was pretty much trying to explain why he did the certain things that he did. And he says, it's not like I wanted to go and rape these women and kill them and do what he did, which was very terrible. But he says, the more I fought myself, the more I wanted it. He's like, it's like this angry hunger. And then he says, and then you just black out and you just do it anyway. And I think,
what does that mean though?
I think I kind of get, I'm not saying like I would go and rape women or do anything, but like I kind of see what he's saying. Like it's almost like the more you don't allow yourself, and this could be taken in a completely different way with religion, but I'm taking that out of it. But I think for someone, I'm trying to gain my thought here. He basically was like, the more that I didn't want to do this, the more I wanted it. And then he says, and it almost overtakes your entire personality. He's like,
but don't you think that's an argument about discipline? Because I can make that exact same scenario.
Well, how long are you going to be disciplined before you're just going to bust out anyway?
You're forever. So I understand that's a difficult thing to consider, but let me change the variables and see if it makes more sense.
Okay.
Let's say you have an addiction to sugar, and let's say you have diabetes, and so are you going to be like, oh, I blacked out and I had sugar? No, you just choose to actively say, I'm not going to have sugar, otherwise they're going to chop my leg off. Which one do I prefer, walking or sugar?
Right.
And if you can't make those decisions on your own, then you're going to have to look at options. What are your options? Do you need medication to make better choices?
Right, yeah.
Do you need to be hypnotized? Some people say that works. Do you need to supplement with a different drug? Do you get like weed? It seems to help people for some reason in Colorado, or maybe just people just like getting high. What do you need? What do we need here to really figure it out? Do you need a psychologist to help you work out your issues with eating? Like, there's got to be options, because the reality is that if you're Ted Bundy and you looked for help and you have no other help, I have no pity for you, and I would have you put to death. Period. I have no stuttering in my voice. I have no sympathy in my voice. I have no nothing. No sympathy at all. And I know that sounds cold and heartless, and this is not the way that I want to fucking continue this podcast, because that's not the intent of it. But the reality is, societally, I don't think that's a word, but I'm going to make it up. Societally, you are now a detriment to people. If you're Ted Bundy and you can't fix your shit with hypnotism, not psychology, a counselor or drugs or whatever, you have no right to be in the society. And maybe we won't kill you. Maybe we just ship you to a fucking island somewhere.
Well, and he told this the reporter. You guys can look it up if you just look up the Ted Bundy interview for his last whatever. But basically, they basically told him, or he was trying to tell the interviewee that he was so thankful he was caught. And he says, now I can be put away. And he says, I can finally breathe because I don't have to hurt anybody else. So it's almost like this torn between what he wants. He wants to do the right thing, and he's torn with his other half, where he knows if he's back out in society, he's going to find another woman to rape and kill.
Yeah, I don't know enough about psychology, and once again, I have to claim ignorance. And although, like, my previous comment about just ending him is not an ignorant statement, like, it's a very concrete statement.
Yeah.
I just think about the fact that if I had daughters, dude, and that dude kidnapped a daughter or killed her or raped her or whatever, like, that, it's not okay. And that whatever that thing is, we need to remove it from society. Because the reality is, like, if he was cancer and the U.S. was the body, you would pull that shit out right away.
Right.
You would know fucking in 2 seconds. You wouldn't think about it. If it was, it's like, oh yeah, we got this cancer. It's fastly spreading. You're just like, no, pull that shit out. Like, I understand that, like, religiously we want to save everyone and we want to give everybody opportunity, and it's bad to think about. No, because don't roll your eyes. I know we want to, like, give everybody a chance or whatever, but if you tried all the options I gave you before and you're still wanting to do this or you're still doing this, like, at what point do you say, okay, you know, like, is every life valuable? I hate that. Sounds really fucked up. It sounds really fucked up.
I think I believe, honestly, and you may look at me differently, but I do believe every life is valuable, whether or not how bad they are.
See, but what's his option? Like, are you going to lock him up for the rest of his life?
I would. Yeah,
See,
lock him up because, I mean, the value of his life, even though he doesn't have the freedoms, he said so himself. He said, this is the best option for me.
I guess. I don't know.
I just found it fascinating that he wasn't as twisted. Okay, he's twisted. Let's just put this down. I guess I just have more...
You were expecting him to be a villain from a movie.
Yeah, but I'm weird in this way. I have compassion for people. So I try to look for the good in them. Right. And I could tell that he definitely didn't want to be the demon that he was. And he didn't want to do those things. He did, but he didn't. And I think everybody, I don't know.
Well, look, that's why I always like to reference Game of Thrones. And it isn't until you understand perspective that you don't understand another human being. And that kind of goes back to this podcast. That's why I like the deeper talks. That's why I like the deeper talks, because it really helps you understand another human being versus like, yo, Steve, how was your weekend? Good. It rained a little bit. We got a little dirt, but I was fine. How was yours? Like, whatever. Who gives a fuck about that?
Right,
That's a conversation that you'll never want to have again. Mm-hmm. Okay. But Game of Thrones, I'm referencing, the reason why I reference is I'm getting to it, people. It's a great study in human just humans. I mean, you look at Game of Thrones and it gives you the perspectives of everybody, what their intentions are. You get to see what their intentions are, what they want, what they're working towards, how they're manipulating people, how the things that they have had done to themselves or other people have done to them affects them, and how it changed them. You see Jon Snow being like this young kind of unexperienced kid who didn't really know anything, mm-hmm. and through his hardships throughout the whatever seasons you've been watching, you see him become a leader. You see him become more of a man. You see him taking and making decisions for thousands of people that ultimately his life, he's responsible for their lives.
Right.
So just like you thought Ted Bundy was going to be this fucking evil bad guy from some villain movie, it's always cool to see kind of like what makes people do what they do.
Right.
And I'm not excusing his actions, but what I'm saying is like that's kind of the part that's fascinating to me is learning about that, because that's what was so fascinating about like if you saw the Maleficent movie.
Yes.
Where it's like you saw it from her point of view, which I'm sure was not canon, but whatever. Like you saw it from her point of view, where it's like, oh, she had it rough too, and the things that she dealt with in life is what made her what she is.
Yeah.
Just like when did you see the Dracula movie?
No.
The Dracula movie, the recent one in recent years, was how this guy was like a normal dude or maybe a prince or some shit, and he became Dracula, and what made him do all the crazy killing he did. It's interesting when you switch the roles, because I think that's the conversation we're not having often is like, why are people doing the same thing that you're doing, right? Like the theory is that if you were born into somebody else's body and in their time and experience their upbringing and their experiences and their society, you would make the exact same decisions that person did. And if you agree to that, mindset, you can agree to the fact that you could have became Hitler. right? If you were raised with his values and went through the shit he went through and had the personality he had, I mean, eventually you would become that person. And that's a weird thing to think about. You know, if you had his biology too, because maybe he had, whatever Ted Bundy has that makes him a little fucking unwound.
Well, in going back to Ted Bundy, he talked about what initially
Made him do it?
It was, he said that pornography, he picked it up when he was like in 6th grade or something. He found like a magazine that was dirty or whatever. But he kept pushing the envelope because he's like, well, I want to watch like hardcore, like what is the word? I don't know what it is, but it's like more,
I wouldn't know. I don't peruse those such devices and items.
Well, okay, since you don't either. He looked for abusive pornography.
Oh, like an S&M?
So yeah, the BDSM or whatever it's called.
Bondage,
mutilation something.
BD, bondage, dominance, sedate. Hold on, I got Google. I know what the fuck this is.
So he would watch these BDSM pornography, and he's like, "Oh, this is good," like, whatever. And he wanted to take it a step further, and he said he was just basically kind of recounting the first time he ever took it a step further because he no longer got those highs watching the BDSM. He wanted to get the high again, and so he would, go pick up a girl from a bar and then like choke her out, and then he's like, when I first seen her pass out, I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then he's like,
geez.
It started from that. And then he says, and now I'm ended up killing however many. And he says,
so he got turned on by this.
He got turned on by hurting women, and he said, however, and this is where my compassion comes in, I guess, because it's like I put myself in their shoes and I could see what they're feeling in those situations. And he explained, like, when he was done with the woman, the amount of guilt and sorrow and pain and anguish that went through his body because it's kind of like what you say all the time. It's like you're a wolf. Like, where am I? Like, after you go through like a jack off session or something, I don't know, like you're in a whole different state of mind.
Right. That chimp shit just kind of came out of you.
Yeah. So he said that he's in a different state of mind, but then when it's done and over, he looks at what he just did and there's a dead body and he's like, oh crap, kind of thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not excusing him. I think he's vile, but I have compassion on him because it's like you dug yourself that hole. And I don't know. I guess I just kind of saw where he was.
A little human in him?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the reality of life, right? Like, the most evil people are also human in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, the most evil people in the people that have done the most atrocities in the world, like, for example, Hitler. Like, he had a family. I'm sure his kids didn't see him like a monster.
Right.
Even the German people who were working under him, like, didn't see him as a monster.
Yeah.
Some did.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of people who were just like, oh, he's helping us through. I was talking, I believe I was talking to Eric about this. How he was talking about how, the U.S. also doesn't talk about much about how, like, Hitler helped them through their depression. And that's why he got into power, I guess, is because I've never fact-checked any of this, by the way. I'm just saying it as a matter of fact. He apparently took them out of a depression. Mm-hmm. So I think that's also why they liked him so much, because they were like, oh, this guy fucking helped us,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So long story short, I everybody's human to a certain point.
Right.
Everybody's got motivations and intentions and reasons why they do what they do, unless they're just some fucking barbarian. But I think we deviated a bit. We went from like dating to sexuality to like equality to feminism to like intent kinks. And like kinkiness and crazy people. So I guess trying to bring it back, because it's easier bringing it back from Hitler than it is to bring it back from some dude that's kidnapping chicks. What do women look for in a man when they?
Oh, that's too funny. Oh, is that a real question? What do women?
I'm trying to think of what other questions like a guy would have, right? Like what? So you've already kind of determined. So if like you're picking up apples at the grocery store,
yeah,
and you see a dude, like is it all dudes? Is it all dudes? Like as a woman, you're picking apples, right?
Okay.
I'm giving you the visual. You're picking apples. You got the green ones.
Yeah.
And you're like, I like these tart ones. So you're putting them in the plastic bag and you're spending a couple minutes opening the bags because I have a hard time opening those
me
bags.
too.
And then you put them in the bags and you're like,
bags.
oh, this apple's nice. It doesn't have any bruising on it. It looks shiny. Okay, so you put it in there.
Okay.
And then you see a dude and a really hot dude. Oof. And in your mind, you're like, okay, I'd fuck that dude, right? But then you grab another apple.
Well, I wouldn't. My mind is never. And this will be hard for you to understand, possibly. But my mind doesn't automatically go to, ooh, I'd fuck that dude. It'd be like, ooh, he's hot.
Right, but that automatically means
ooh, I could see myself
like,
with him. Like, as in, like,
okay.
ooh, I could date this guy.
Okay.
And then it goes into, like,
okay,
the dirty stuff.
okay, but I'm just distilling it. Like I'm looking at it from the doors.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it like, fuck that dude. I would date that dude. I would not date that dude. That dude's ugly and like friend zone, right?
Okay.
Like I'm looking at these doors when
Okay.
so that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm making it like a dude would think about it.
Got it.
Yeah. So I'm picking these apples. So you think that dude's hot. You're like, I date him, unlock that door, not open it because opening means the dude's going to walk through it, right? So you unlock it and then you're like, oh, he's hot too. I'd totally probably hook up with him.
Bone him, yeah.
Yeah. So you unlock that door and then you leave the other doors locked, right? You're like, fuck it. I'm going to leave this one here. And then you pick up another apple and you're like, this one's kind of cool. And like, I got that one. And then you see another dude. Do you do the same thing with that other dude? You do it with every dude you see?
Yeah. So I think it depends. If you have two hot guys in the same grocery store, you just you meticulously evaluate their actions. So if they're looking at you, then that's like more an increased chance of like them either talking to you or you talking to them. But if one of them's doing that, or if they're even both doing that, like if they're both like communicating like action wise meticulously, like, oh, I'm trying to think out how I can how to lay this out, then you kind of have your apples to pick. So you either have option A or B.
Right, but I'm not saying you're pursuing it. But what I'm saying is like I was just curious that if every dude that you see you're running through the doors.
We're always evaluating which one. Yeah. Always, no matter where we're going.
But I was gonna say, I wonder if that's a female thing. But I think guys do that too. They look at a girl, they're like, "Oh, she's fuckable." No, it's mom. Like, no. See, and I think also that's another reason why we differ as men and women, because I've told you before how like weird monkey shit biology always makes our eyes dart to shit in women. Like you'll see a woman walking by and you're like, "Chow," you're like, boom, you're looking at her boobs, and then you're like, all of a sudden you're like, I didn't mean to look at her boobs. My eyes just went to her boobs, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you women see that, and you're like putting your woman filter on it and being like, he's evaluating her to see if he'd fuck her,
right?
Or hook up. And as a guy, we're just like autopilot. We're like boobs, and they're like, all right, cool, butt, okay, another boobs, a bigger butt. Like as a guy, your eyes are just like clink, 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 clink. You're not necessarily being like, yeah, man, she's hot. I would totally unlock the banging door, and I would unlock the relationship door. And you're like, that one, not friend door. That, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no,
guys don't do that shit. Like, legitimately, we will walk, and our eyes unintentionally will go on boobs or something.
That's weird.
I don't know what it is. I'm telling you, I have theories about everything. I think this is a monkey shit where you're like, your mind's supposed to go there. So then your fucking hormones start ramping up. So then it's like a biology thing again. It's a continuing of the species.
So you get turned on by looking at some chick's boobs?
How am I going to answer that? Of course I've gotten turned on looking at some chick's boobs. How have I not?
Like just walking,
Ever?
You'd be like, no, like you just walking through the grocery store and you got some big old jugglies and you're like, ooh, jugglies.
Big old jugglies. Yeah. That sounds like a treat that should go next to Twinkies. No. Big old jugglies. Yeah, turned on, yeah, but not like Stonehenge. I'm not walking around with like a rock hard dick. But yeah, you
get like the tingly in your wee-wee area?
No. There's a difference between being like turned on where you're like patow, you know what I'm saying? Like up in attention. You know what I'm saying? You're ready to go versus being like, that's attractive. That's yeah, I'm attracted to that. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference. There's a difference for sure.
I thought it was patow all the time.
No. You're Stonehenging it.
Yeah, you're
just picking up apples, just Stonehenge dick. You're like, what's up, man?
Laser
Nice
pointing
boobs.
to everything.
Nice boobs, by the way. I'm gonna go back at my apples now. No, it's not like that. I think when you're a young man, that's another thing too. When you're a young man, yeah, probably. I think when you're a young boy, young man, more like young boy. You remember when we talked to you about having like hard-ons?
Yeah.
When you're at that age, when your hormones are that kind of crazy, you also got to be careful. Because if you're doing the same thing as you would as an adult, you got a little bit more control. Like you could just be like, I'm getting turned on with the dick. All right, slow down, come back to world. You're like baseball.
True? Okay, wait. This totally just came to mind.
Yeah.
Is it true, like, if you have a hard on, can you flex your bicep and the blood will go away from your penis and go into your bicep?
I have never heard of this ever.
No?
No, I'm going to try this out later. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, you need to try it.
But you know what it is? It's
What?
not. I bet you it's not that the blood goes from your dick into your bicep. I think it's the fact that you're so focused on flexing your bicep that you lose focus on being turned on. Therefore, your dick kind of goes back to normal.
Oh.
I don't think it's like a direct. It's not like you only have a certain amount of blood where you're like,
Well,
I only have enough blood to feed my dick because afterwards everything else will just go to shit. I'm on autopilot. Like it doesn't work that way. Like I have only 20 minutes of dick hardness because otherwise my heart will stop. There's not enough blood in my body. It doesn't work that way. Maybe those dudes with like the 30-inch packers, you know what I'm saying? Like those dudes just packing just like the, you know what I'm saying? Those dudes are packing like baseball bats. Yeah. Maybe those guys have those issues, but your boy don't have that issue.
Well, it was just something. It was something that I heard, so I didn't know if that was a true thing or not.
That's gonna be the clip of the week. Baseball bat clip. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So.
No, that's not true. But like I was saying, so when you're a young boy and you start going through those changes a little bit, and you start getting hard-ons at a random, if you see those same boobs that you saw as a man, you might get a little hard. You might get hard as a kid. Or you might
ejaculate just from staring at them.
I never had that issue, honestly, to be honest with you. But I have heard of that. Yeah. I have heard of like kids, like you always hear those stories. Like it's American Pie. American Pie, how like the guy was finally going to hook up with that hot chick. And then like
I've never seen it.
So there's that scene in American Pie where there's like he's been swooning over this girl all year. She's like a super hot, super exchange chick. She's 100% out of his league, but she's like, you know, she's a down to earth foreign exchange girl. So she comes over and for some reason he had his webcam going. I can't remember why he had his webcam going. And
is this the one where he does like a pie of some sort?
Yeah, that's American Pie. Yeah.
Okay.
But the whole point of the movie is like she comes over. I'm not going to say spoiler alert because at this point it's like a million years old. But she comes over. They're going to hook up. And I think she goes to reach for his dick or something. And he just fucking jizzes. And a whole bunch of people were on his web feed.
Oh, no.
So his whole school knew about it. Have you not seen American Pie?
So cringy.
That's why it's so funny.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
And so, yeah, I think there's a point where he gets like horny and then he like fucks the pie or whatever. I don't know why that's a thing, but.
I mean, Jeff Jones, Joan Johns, or whatever his name is.
John Jones?
Did the grapefruit.
Oh, no, you're talking about Kai Green.
Kai
Green. But see, Kai Green did it because he did some gay for pay shit. He was like
getting paid to do it. Yeah.
A lot of those big bodybuilder guys, the bodybuilding world as a whole has some darkness to it because it's so fixated on looks and aesthetics and good-looking people or whatever. So there's a lot of people that are willing to pay for these guys to do stuff.
Some weird shit
because. And they need the money because a lot of these big name guys, the drug stacks are so expensive that they're willing to do stuff. So the famous one is like the grapefruit with Kai Green, but there's a whole bunch of dudes that do a whole bunch of crazy stuff like webcam work and you know crazy shit. There's a couple of fitness YouTubers who got caught for that.
Which ones?
I'll tell you off camera. But there was like a couple years ago, there was a scandal with one of them that I used to follow. I think I still follow. Maybe I don't. But he got caught because apparently the reason why he started his YouTube account was for some of that gay for pay stuff. Oof. And later on, it came out like videos of him doing the gay for pay stuff. He didn't do anything crazy, but he did do some weird stuff. He's like flexing and he was like, you know, I can't remember what he did. Like, you know, just kind of, he did kind of like little skits where he was like beating up on intruders and like
weird
weird stuff.
How do you know this? Did you watch them?
Yeah, because people
you watched them?
Yeah, of course.
No!
Yeah. It wasn't hardcore gay for pay because that stuff I think never came out.
Wait, did you pay for it?
No. Somebody uploaded that stuff to YouTube. It was still like
it's not like a Pornhub.
No, it wasn't porn. No. Like the stuff I saw wasn't porn. It was like some dude in a hockey mask coming into his house, and he like beats him up, and it was like a really shitty, like almost like porno where it's like really shitty acting,
Yeah.
and he's like beating him up, and then afterwards he's just like flexing. Like people are into some weird shit. Yeah, people are into weird shit like that, where like they're flexing and they're like, it's odd. Like that meme. I don't know if I showed you that meme where going back to flexing and the voodoo. No, not voodoo. The thing where you. What's the word I'm looking for? The one where you send dick pics. We're talking about sending dick pics because you're into other people looking at your stuff.
Yes, a voyager, right?
The voyeurism. There's that. What's that website that you talked about going on where you just watch people and it just switches?
Oh, chat roulette.
Chat roulette. Well, there's a meme I'll show you where there's a guy that's like flexing.
Yeah.
And like there's girls that pop up and
Yeah.
all he does is just take off his shirt and he starts flexing and
Yeah.
you get the reaction of the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people are just into that shit.
It is very weird. It's me and my girlfriends, we'd go on just for fun or whatever, and like we have our webcam set up, and there would be like dudes like straight on like just jacking off, and like, it's just so weird. They don't say anything; they just stare at you.
It's a voyeurism. It's like you're looking at my dick. Like it's like, once again,
like
I bet you if sexuality was not as taboo and we were more open with like nudity, that would go away right away. Like if we had nude beaches and the dude's walking around with his dick out.
There are nude beaches
In the U.S.?
Yes, you didn't
Really?
know that?
No, I didn't know that.
There's like a couple in Florida.
I didn't know that. Well, I know there's like those places where old people go, right? There's nude colonies.
Yeah, I mean, like, was that Joe Rogan's podcast? They were talking about how they got off trail and they ended up going into like this hike, and they stumbled upon like this whole nudist colony hike.
It's possible. I can't keep up with his podcast anymore. Like I like Joe and he does a lot of great content, but a lot of stuff is just kind of like, all right, man, I can't do certain ones anymore. Like when he has his comedians on all the time, his comedian friends.
Yeah, the comedians
they're not great unless I like the comedian. You know, if I like Bill Burr, I'll always listen to some of Bill Burr or Ari or Joey's on it. But if it's like, you know, there's other guys like Hinchcliffe and stuff like that, I'm like, all right. Ian Edwards, I'm like, all right. Like if it's certain people too, I'm kind of like, all right.
The podcast that won me over with Joe Rogan, because I was like about it, because they're so long, like
3 hours. Yeah,
they're pretty freaking long. But is the Kid Cudi one?
I bet
I
you
really like that one.
But you know what? Time flies. Like how long do you think we've been doing this now? Let's look at the time.
Like 30, 45 minutes. I don't know. Maybe 45.
We've been at it for an hour and a half.
Oh.
Yeah, so like a 3-hour podcast when you're doing them, like it goes by really fast.
Okay.
So, and that's another way, like you find out whether somebody's putting up a front or not, because if somebody's trying to be a character, it's hard to hold it for 3 hours. Yeah, it's hard to hold that character. That's why when I saw, have you seen anyways, we'll talk about this off air. Anyways, long story short, I think we covered a lot of shit today. Some shit I would have not liked to cover today.
I'm sorry.
But no, you're fine. I think it just going into trails sometimes is good because then we get to deeper shit. But I was trying to keep this around the basis of dating. But I think a lot of guys will, hopefully guys, and some girls will get laughs. Some girls will be like, "You're wrong. That's not how I do things." And some stuck-up women will be like, "It's not okay for a guy to hit a girl, but I should be able to hit a motherfucker if he's just acting crazy."
Oh my God.
Anyways, all right. You guys know the freaking drill. Likes, comments down below. Subscribe because these shits come out weekly because I'm a badass like that. If you guys have comments about what you want in the future, what you like, I don't know. Shoot me an email, Instagram DM or some shit. I don't know. Comment down below. It's all the same thing. I'll get them all. What else? Hit the like button on the stuff you guys like. Stop being stingy with that. And stop being stingy about creating a YouTube account and subscribing. Do that shit too. It's free. Stop being stingy because then when I see likes on stuff, I'm like, oh, they like this kind of stuff. I should do more of it, right? So it makes only sense because you fools are not sending me questions about your horrible decision making while dating. So I got to do content on something. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Enough ranting. See you guys next Monday. You want to say bye?
Bye.
Next Monday.